Welcome back to Stick to Fitness, brought to you by myself and my co-host Archie. And today's topic for discussion is, should you have qualifications to be an online coach? So what do you think, Archie? Yay or nay?
100%. I think 100% you should have to have some form of qualification, not only to protect your client, but also protect yourself. I think at the minute there's a number of people out there giving lots of advice without any sort of qualification behind it to sort of back what it is that they're saying. And I think when you look at the dark side of fitness, in terms of the use of anabolic steroids and things like that, I think you have a lot of people out there giving advice about based on what they've trialed, but not actually what is factual. So
they should have qualifications to be a doctor.
For me personally, if I was ever going to take anything, I would 100%.
So you're claiming natty then?
Yeah, 100% claiming natty. But I would definitely go and seek a medical professional to advise me on that, not some guy who's just following Instagram and told me that he can get me the best results possible. Even like an IFBB Pro, the advice that they're giving you about anabolic and things like that, unless they are, a medical professional or have that sort of qualification and certification to be able to pass on that knowledge, I think it's really risky. I think it's a real grey area.
Is a medical professional, are they going to give you, are they going to have the knowledge to give you, prescribe you anabolic steroids to do a certain goal? They're always going to... they're always going to argue. They're always going to say against it, right?
Well, I don't know. I think it depends who you're talking to.
Oh, really?
It's definitely
the dark doctors.
The dark doctors. Because there is basic information, but you don't know how taking certain substances is going to affect you personally. And I guess you don't know that with a lot of things until you try it. I think at the minute there's a lot of people out there that are willing to try anything, and people are capitalizing on that. There is a market for young people that are into fitness who, I was watching EastEnders the other night. Shout out EastEnders. And one of the storylines at the minute is about one of the young boys in there who's, buying steroids online.
Is he jacked?
He's not jacked. No, he's like 16 years old. But the way in which that he's going about it is he's been following one of these fitness guys online. He's saying, take this, take that, and he's stolen his grandmother's credit card. Shout out Yolanda.
You used a credit card?
Yeah, well, he used her debit card or credit card or something.
At least use cash.
Yeah, no, but he's buying online.
I don't get.
Is
it illegal to buy it?
Nothing is illegal to buy. I think it's illegal to sell.
Okay.
And being large. If you have a large amount, then I think.
So Grandma Jill's gonna check out
Yolanda. Shout out Yolanda.
Yolanda. Okay.
Yeah. So she's done
So hold tight to Yolanda. She's gonna be on.
But he's been manipulated, and it is a storyline. I understand that, but he's been manipulated by some guy that.
But what if Yolanda was competing in the UK DFBA, and then they do the drug testing? And they're like, Yolanda, look, we've been looking at your bank statements, and you've been buying anabolic
the over 80s category for the females. They just lost the competitor. No, but I do think people are being manipulated as a short-term fix to either go on holiday, the Ibiza crew or whoever, and they're taking this advice. They don't want to do it in the sense of they don't want to do it because they want to compete. They want to do it because they want to feel better about themselves and look better for a certain period of time. But as we know, there is a whole process that when you start that journey, the process of coming off them and bringing your levels back down to normal, like homeostasis, is just as important as the initial purchase of the product. So if I came to you and said, well, I want you to give me, I got 3 months, I'm going to pay you 3 months up front, I want everything that you're going to give me. They don't think about
it's like a buffet, bro.
Yeah, all you can eat.
Gear buffet.
But they don't think about the 3
all
months.
All you can jab.
They don't think about the 3 months after. So once they've had that party or they've had that holiday, I'm like, all right, yeah, see you later now. I don't want to continue with this online coaching, and then just go back to normal life.
Buried penis.
Yeah, well, shout out the buried penis crew because there's a few out there.
All right, but we're digressing, man. We're deviating. This is about online coaching, bro. So But so this is the thing, right? So you're saying that the industry is flooded with bad personal trainers, but does a qualification guarantee that there isn't shit people? Because there's tons of jobs out there, right, that require qualifications, but there's loads of people that are still really bad at their jobs.
But I think if you could filter by qualification with sort of anything, I don't know, what do you think? Would you go with any industry? Would you go to someone who's got a qualification? If your sink was broken, would you go to a plumber that's got a qualification, or some guy online that says,
I think plumbers have to have a qualification, right, or something like that.
No, but I'm just saying,
they're gonna have the plumber BTEC, right?
Yeah. No, but would you go? If you have the choice, because your mate says, "Oh yeah, I can do it for you."
Oh, okay.
I've watched a couple of YouTube videos, or would you be like, "No"?
I'm tight, so I'll probably go with my mate. If it's free, and I'm like,
no, not free. It's the same price.
Okay, same price.
It's £100.
Same price.
It's £100 to fix your sink.
Oh.
Who are you going with?
Obviously, if I'm paying the same price, I'm going to go with the plumber.
Okay,
right?
but then, yeah.
But like, if it's free, definitely hook my mate Archie.
Yeah, but you have to call him up anyway.
Maybe, but my mate might be really good at it. You know, they might be. I don't know. They might have done their own.
And I hear. So you're saying he's experienced in doing what it is that he's doing.
He's an experienced plumber.
Yeah.
Part-time plumber. He does fitness content in the morning.
But I think to come back to it, I think there is a lot of people who are selling themselves as this fitness guru, this online personal trainer, this PT, whoever, but haven't actually done the graft and gained that knowledge. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what you think, but I don't know if that knowledge comes from doing these online. A lot of people do these online courses, or they've got, they've been coached, so they think that they can be coached. Because
at the moment there isn't a qualification for online coaching, but there is a qualification for personal training one-to-one.
One-to-one, yeah.
So in order for you to get a job at at a gym, you have to have I think it's the bare minimum a level 3 personal training, right, certification.
Yeah, if you want to do the personal training, I think gym floor is reps 2.
Yeah, I think that's for a gym instructor, right? I don't know really
for the floor. If I remember correctly, when I did it was you have to have level 2 to like supervise the gym and help people out. But if you want to do the personal training, you've got to have your level 3 certification.
But if you wanted to be an online coach at this moment in time, you can just be like, tomorrow I'm lawyer, and today I am.
People are doing that.
Yeah,
people are doing that, and you hear these crazy stories of people that have quit their job, what they were doing, because they've gone from, like you said, working a normal job, becoming an online coach, but they know how to do social media, they know how to sell themselves, they can their marketing is really good. So, but then are you an online coach, or are you someone that sells a product?
But then, okay, let's take this scenario, right? What if you have, we've got this lawyer, right? Yeah. So the lawyer goes through the process to get their level 3 personal training certification. Would you rather train with that person, or would you rather train with the lawyer who has lived it? Like, their whole life has been about fitness, but they're just a lawyer, right? And they haven't got the certification, but they're coaching. Who do you go with? Meanwhile, this level 3 personal trainer, other than having the level 3, they've not done it themselves.
So good, because
they're not doing anything outside of level 3. They're just doing level 3, and I'm in. I've got the badge. I'm here.
But he's never trained anyone, so he's fresh.
He's fresh, man.
I don't know. That's
you see?
That's where it becomes a bit tricky, because
this is what I'm saying. So what qualifications are we talking here? You know what I mean? I think it does blur the lines at the moment. But at the same time, even with qualifications, there still is a lot of really bad PTs. Like I'm saying, like the ones that just they just sit there and just count the reps.
There's also a lot of people that back in my day, this is what we did, and this is what worked. And
the Eddie abuse in the world.
Yeah, shout out Eddie. So I think to go back to your original question, that's stumped me a bit, if I'm being honest with you, because
it's difficult, right?
Because I think as well, if you're someone, giving advice and not having a qualification is risky. If you're doing it from the gym floor point of view, then insurance and like all that sort of thing, someone does something wrong. But I think if you're an online coach, you have no qualification, you're giving these people advice. I'm going to ask you a question. Has it ever happened to you where you've given someone a piece of advice or anything like that and it's gone wrong? And what happened with that?
I'm trying to think of a scenario.
Or if you haven't got one, then if you're like one of these guys who's giving coaching people to the stage and you're recommending anabolics and stuff, if something was to happen to one of those clients or anything like that, what do you think should happen to that online coach?
Well, nothing happens at the moment, right?
No, but so what do you think should happen? And if you were one of those athletes and you were taking whatever and then they recommended you the wrong supplement, the wrong dosage, something happened to you, what would be your next course of action?
I don't know, man. I would definitely try to not put myself in that scenario. Have an NDA, right?
But there are people. But there are people out in that.
That shouldn't excuse anything, right? You shouldn't just be like, oh well, you just signed your life away on this contract that no one's ever going to read. I'll put it in very, very, very small font, and then you've just signed your life away, and I can do whatever, right? I don't necessarily think that's also
the answer.
The answer either, but yeah, I'm not sure. I think. But the thing with, obviously, if we're talking specifically about anabolics, right, I think it becomes a very difficult topic because, let's say this coach is prescribing this, but then the athlete is taking something else, right? And then there's no evidence as well. So I could write on paper to tell you to do this, and then maybe we'll have an in-person check-in, and I'm like, actually, take this. You got no record of that, right? And it can just be like,
apart from your moral compass,
that's it, right? But
I think so. As someone who does online coaching, if a client came to you and said, I want to start going down that path, I want to start doing this, what would your response be?
Oh, but you got to go to someone else, man. I ain't got a clue.
But that's a sensible response. Yeah. But I imagine there's people out there who don't want to lose that client. They come to them and say, well, I want to start taking this, and otherwise I'm going to have to go with someone else who can advise me. So maybe a sense of panic or whatever, and they say, well, let me get on Reddit and see what most people take, and I'll just recommend the same thing. But
that's that.
But people are doing it.
But yeah, let's put it on the less anabolic and dangerous line. Let's go with just, I guess, nutrition and training, right? If you don't, let's say this person has a specific goal. Say they want to do contest prep, and you are not a contest prep coach, right? So maybe you've never even done real fat loss before. You're a strength and conditioning coach, and you want to switch it over, and they ask you for like fat loss advice, and you're not really sure because you do strength and conditioning. So then you go on Reddit and you look at, all ChatGPT, and you're like, give me a diet. Give me this diet for this client, and then you get that, and then you go to, I think that's a better comparison.
Yeah, well, I think being honest with your client about saying, so if someone, like, for example, if that was me and I didn't have any experience of doing it, I would like to do it with you, but just so you're aware, I've never done this before, so I'll be kind of learning as we go, and I'll make changes that I think are suitable based on, I might come and ask someone like you who's done it before for advice, or, someone that I'm working with who preps people, and like try and seek advice. But I wouldn't just turn around and say, yes, I can do it, because ultimately if you give that person a bad experience, then it's not fair either as well. They're paying you and you're just making it up sort of as you go along.
Yeah, because I have that, like, I had someone reach out to me, and they had I think it was a referral, but the lady had like some sort of like eating disorder kind of thing, and I just felt I spoke to her to see if it was actually an eating disorder or if it was just like self-diagnosed. People get mixed up with what overeating is versus what actually binging is. So with her, I just thought, this lady is a little bit out of my scope of practice, so I didn't take her on, but I advised who she could potentially go with.
Yeah.
And that was just my moral compass, right, of what I wanted to do in that scenario. But yeah, I think like you said, some people, you may not necessarily have the skill set, whether it's qualification or not.
All the experience comes back to the experience as well. They haven't got the experience of working with that. You know, whether you're working with like a pregnant lady, or like you said, someone with eating disorder, someone with a disability. You know, if you know as an online coach whether you don't feel comfortable doing it, then you should, in my opinion, definitely refer that person to someone who is more able to support the needs of that person.
But then does that go beyond the qualification, right? Because technically you are able to handle these kind of people because you have done your level 3 personal training, right?
No, but I think things, when it comes to specifics, when you're talking about like food intolerance, digestive issue, disability, prenatal, postnatal stuff, that's an additional qualification to the. But you
see with that, right? You've got PTs who will write on the PT boards when you go to the gym. They're like, pre-postnatal, done the course, whatever. But if they haven't really listened and they haven't really attended the course, is this person actually the right person for the job? They're still bad at their job, even though they have the qualification. You still see them doing, I don't know, chest supported rows with a pregnant lady. 9 months pregnant. Yeah, it's like, you'll be fine. Yeah. So you still have that. And I think that's very similar to in other industries as well. You have people who are good at their job. You have people who are bad at their job. But everybody has that same qualification. They're still in there at the same time, right? So I think it becomes... it's a very, very tricky topic. But I think it isn't necessarily the person's fault. So...
No, you're going to do... If you're allowed to do something, then people are going to do it.
Absolutely. I think it's more so the qualifications fault. So the people who are passing these people, the people who are in charge of the situation, if they make those courses better, if they're more stringent with the pass rates, then I think it will produce like a higher quality of individuals. The barrier to entry becomes a lot higher. And I think realistically, I actually think it's a system fault rather than, an individual's issue, because as far as a person's concerned, they're just doing what they need to do to get into the job, right? Whether or not they're good at it is a completely different thing, right? But let's say if we take RTS, for example, right? So I do a lot of exercise mechanics. And in order for you to pass RTS mastery, you have to get quizzed by Tom. And what he'll do is you'll come in, and I believe this is what I've heard on the grapevine.
Have you been quizzed by Tom yet or not?
I haven't been. Well,
is it coming?
It's always you always get quizzed by him when you're in the mastery, right? Because there's only a couple of people. But when you really want to pass the test, you have to. You'll be training a client, and let's say you're on the leg extension. He may stop you and go, "Talk to me about the leg extension." And there is no context that you just tell him everything that you know about the leg extension. And then he'll base his questioning and his testing on what you know. So if you've said something, he's like, what about this? What about this? So then there's loads of considerations, and you have to really know your stuff to be able to pass. And even then, it's up to him whether or not he feels that you have the relevant knowledge to pass his standards, right? And I think this is what tests, and it doesn't even matter if it's just in the fitness industry. I think it's for everybody in all aspects of life. When you're looking at passing a test, I think it all should be like that, because only then can you really say that that person knows their stuff, right? Because that's ultimately what you're trying to do. You're trying to raise the standard. You're trying to increase the barrier to entry, right? But if these tests are just like, well, you're guaranteed to pass, then, or there's a curriculum that you just learn and memorize, and it's like school again. You just repeat what has been said, but have you actually learned it? Do you really know how to use that?
That's recall. And we know that recall is the lowest form of intelligence. Is I'm telling you this, you memorize it and put it down on a piece of paper because you haven't got to like
you don't
gone out your way to, you haven't learnt it.
Yeah, and some people are good at that, right?
Oh, definitely. Some people are just more suited to doing exams than others.
That's it. And I think it comes down to potentially it's a system error. So if they really increase the barriers to entry, if they really increase the standard, the people who are even behind the course, they need to make sure that they know their stuff as well. So then when they pass the people, it's like, okay, this person really knows. And then the standard of personal training, the standard of online coaching is only going to go up. Obviously, that then creates a much larger barrier to entry because, for this person to even be able to make any money to get this job, they really need to know their stuff.
But I think with, what was the course? RTS?
Yeah.
So Tom
Purvis.
That's his.
Yeah.
So obviously he's going to be not reluctant, but he's going to be very.
There's only a handful of people.
This is what I'm saying, because if he's passing, like you, for example, then you start posting shit online, giving that bad information, you're like, oh yeah, I'm MTS qualified.
Yeah.
Well, it's very easy to link that back to him and be like, what the hell? Like, Tom, what are you doing? Whereas when you're doing these general qualifications, there's so many different governing bodies of them. Who do you actually then link it back to when it's like, I've had a bad experience with this personal trainer in the gym or online, they've got some sort of certification or whatever. Who do I blame?
But they blame the business, right? Wherever they've come from. That's
because the business is all about getting as most people through as possible, because ultimately that's going to be more money. If you're paying $3,500 to $5,000 for your qualification, they're going to want as many people through the door as possible. So is that then? That's then where you're saying like the quality is going to come down. Whereas with a certification like what you're doing with Tom and RTS. RTS, sorry.
MTS is a hammer strength machine,
I'm getting confused. RTS.
Resistance Training Specialist.
We'll shout them out anyway, but RTS.
Yeah.
You're going to be people would then start looking at that like, well, if he's saying that he's RTS certified, well, that means that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's why people have like, precision nutrition. You got the MNU, they're like higher tier levels of education where people are like, oh, this person is qualified by that. This means it's a good thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the general public really realise that. No. Like I'm sure if, I told my client, hey, I'm MNU qualified nutritionist, they'd be like, what the fuck is that?
I think for the general public, whether you're qualified is dependent on how you look.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
Yeah, that is true. People look at, don't judge a book by its cover, right? Yeah. Everyone always says, that's absolute garbage, man. Everyone's doing it. You go on YouTube, what are you doing? You're looking at a thumbnail, right?
Yeah.
You go watch a film, what are you looking at? You're looking at trailers.
Yeah.
Everyone is judging a book by its cover, for sure. So, and it doesn't even necessarily mean that just because the cover is really good that the content is bad. Like it, it could still be really, really good. But yeah, to go back, I think it definitely is a system error. I think I don't know how it would be managed because there's also lots of logistics that you have to think about.
Yeah, I think the only thing I can think of is if there's an organisations, so like, your ones like Trained by JP, your Pro Coach, or Natural Bodybuilding Worldwide, all these other places, they come together to provide a course. 3DMJ, for example, they come together to provide a course which would certify you in that. And if you have that, then you're of a certain level of online coach. That's sort of the only thing that I can kind of come up with in terms of the online, everything that's online and not in the flesh.
Yeah, I think it is very tricky because at the same time, you don't want the barrier to be so high that you don't have enough of these people as well. Because
do you not think there's too many at the minute?
I don't know, but then do you then have it so
you're having to battle with possibly another 100, like for example, people in your niche or whatever, you're having to have 100 more people who aren't as good as you but are happy to offer the not the same service, but a service at much less of a price that is potentially then taking away business from yourself.
I mean, that's existing. That's currently happening now, right? But the cream always rises to the top, bro. So
of course, but in a sense of if there was a certification that made it harder for these people, then you could, I don't know, double your business because these people would get, like you said, washed to the side and they wouldn't be around anymore.
But then do you get the same situation where it's kind of like, you know, the NHS, where it is quite difficult to be a doctor or be whatever. It takes years and years of studying, etc. And then because of that, it's the barrier's too high to get in. Yes, the quality is a lot better. Like you can go to any doctor and you're in pretty safe hands, right? The standard is.
You'd hope so.
I think so. Yeah. I don't think anybody's been like terrible. Like, I don't know actually.
What terrible experience with the NHS?
Like, no, just obviously the experience in terms of admin, but I'm saying like in terms of when you actually get the appointment and you have a doctor, is it? They're not gonna, like, let's say if you've got a broken left leg, they're not gonna saw your right leg. You know, that kind of thing. It's not to that degree. Yeah, you'd hope not. But yeah, I think it does having a higher barrier to entry mean that there's going to be less people, and it could be good for certain people, but then at the same time, I think the country or certain countries are going to be like, yeah, we need tax from people, bro. So if people are not in their jobs, they're not making as much money, it takes them longer, they don't get much tax, they don't get much money, it becomes a economy problem. You know what I mean? It becomes a big issue.
But I think the online personal training is an industry problem. So, because there are people out there that with that then do the wrong thing, there's no accountability. I don't know, when was it, 2 years ago or something like that, where certain online coaches were misusing the privilege of having certain clients send them images. Yeah. So if you're an online coach, you're going to receive images from your client every couple of weeks or every week. And, I think certain, especially with female clients.
But just because you have a qualification doesn't necessarily mean that those things are going to stop, right?
Yeah, but he can then, or she can then be held accountable. So that person...
So would they be held accountable to that?
They would have to be.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is that how...
They would have to be.
So it's kind of like when teaching, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So you're part of a governing body.
Okay.
So if you abuse your rights or within that, then you're going to be held to account and potentially
you could get revoked.
Yeah, you can lose your qualification and they won't allow you to practice anymore. So the situation in which I'm talking about was where someone was asking for images from a female client who sent it across in like shorts and a top or something. And was saying, "Oh no, I need."
Guys fapping.
Yeah, no, but no, you're laughing, but obviously this is a real thing. We know it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And was saying, "No, actually, I need to see you in your underwear," and then you need to turn to the rear and like bend down, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like that's where you need, in my opinion, you need to have something to hold that person to account, because the only thing that's going to happen from there is you might lose a few clients, you might get a bad name, but a couple of years later. Or still practicing, right? still busier than ever, and it's the same with bad advice. And to go back to what I said about the anabolics and stuff, if you're giving someone advice and something does happen, there's no accountability for that.
Definitely. You love an anabolic story. I'm starting to question your natty or not.
I only follow your advice. So.
But yeah, I think to summarize, I think qualifications are important. I still think we need better ones. I don't know how much we want to raise that standard by. That again, I'm not sure. I think it would have, obviously other cascading effects. But something does definitely need to be changed in order for people to take this industry a lot more serious. Because at the moment, I still think it's a bit of a joke.
Well, you're in it.
I know.
You're part of it.
I'm part of that comedic value. But yeah, I try. Like, obviously, I try to raise my own standards, right? In terms of the advice giving.
Yeah.
And as long as you have, and even with that, I don't think some people are necessarily going out of their way to give bad advice. sometimes
But
you only know what you know.
Yeah, you only know what you know, exactly.
Right. So that becomes tricky, because if you don't know much,
Yeah, well, it's hard
you're
to
in trouble.
navigate.
You know what I mean? And that's what I think where clients get caught out, is because this person is very convincing, right? Because it's what they believe in.
Well,
it's
that's what I
they
was
know.
saying about
Right.
if you're very good at sales.
But not even that. If that person truly believes in that. So like, let's take Eddie Abu, right? He believes in what his message is, right? But there's loads of people that also disagree. So then, because he is, whether he's right or wrong, that's a different story. But because he's so convincing, the client is going to believe him. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because he's like, well, this guy, he's not lying, but he's not. Because he genuinely believes it, because that's what he knows, right? So then,
like someone like Eddie,
right?
Apart from his experience, what I don't know. I don't think he has any qualification, apart from he's been on the Mr. Olympia stage. But people
that's the highest level of qualification.
Well,
he has to get his pro card and then qualify
for
the Olympia.
People will look at that and think, how can he be wrong? So,
and I think as well with the following too. So when loads of people follow, they're like, this person must be right, because so many people follow him, right? So the more people are drawn to that, the more people, it's like, well, this can't be wrong.
Yeah,
So there's that side of things as well. But yeah,
I don't know, but hopefully it gets cleared up soon.
It's I don't know. I think we're still a long ways away from raising the standard and having some rules around it. I don't know who else would be governing it, right? Who's going to be the person to take the reins to say, hey, I'm the big boss, I'm in charge? Arnold, yeah. Is he qualified?
I don't know. Once upon a time, I followed his blueprint on bodybuilding.com. So
did you follow his encyclopedia?
Yeah, I read that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
I've never read it, so I'm not sure. I only watched Pumping Iron, and
that's a good film, though.
Yeah, that's as much as I know. So I think that is that in terms of the qualification to be a coach. So to summarize, should there be qualifications to be an online coach?
100% yes.
Okay, so you're not changed. Not convinced you otherwise.
Nope.
I think yes, but definitely yeah. The caveat being, I think the qualifications and pass rates do need to be slightly reviewed. But yeah, that's that. And if you like this video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. And if you disagree, you can always DM and let us know. I am at Gym With Him on Instagram, and my co-host Archie is at Archie13 with 2 E's. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all on the next one. Peace.